Bible.
Early in the morning, the chief priests, the nation's leaders, and the teachers of the law of Moses met together with the whole Jewish council. They tied up Jesus and led him off to Pilate. He asked Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "Those are your words," Jesus answered. The chief priests brought many charges against Jesus. Then Pilate questioned him again. "Do you have anything to say? Don't you hear what crimes they say you have done?" But Jesus did not answer, and Pilate was amazed. During the Passover, Pilate always freed one prisoner chosen by the people, and at that time there was a prisoner named Barabbas. He and some others had been arrested for murder during a riot. The Jewish people now came and asked Pilate to set a prisoner free, just as he usually did. Pilate asked them, "Do you want me to free the king of the Jews?" Pilate knew the chief priests had brought Jesus to him because they were jealous. But the chief priests told the crowd to ask to free Barabbas. Then Pilate asked the crowd, "What do you want me to do with the man you say is the king of the Jews?" They yelled, "Nail him to a cross." Pilate asked, "But what crime has he done?" "Nail him to a cross." They yelled even louder. Pilate wanted to please the crowd, so he set Barabbas free. Then he ordered a soldier to beat Jesus with a whip and nail him to a cross. The soldiers led Jesus inside the courtyard of the forest, and they called together the rest of the troops. They put a purple robe on him, and on his head they placed a crown that they had made out of thorn branches. They made fun of Jesus and shouted, "Hey, you, King of the Jews." Then they beat him on his head with a stick. They spat on him and knelt down and pretended to worship him. When the soldiers had finished making fun of Jesus, they took off the purple robe and put his own clothes back on him. They led him up to be nailed on a cross. Simon of Cyrene happened to be coming from a farm, and they forced him to carry the cross. Simon was the father of Alexander and Rufus. The soldier took Jesus to Golgotha, which means place of the skulls. There they gave him some wine mixed with a drug to ease his pain, but he refused to drink it. They nailed Jesus to a cross and gambled to see who would get his clothes. It was 9 o'clock in the morning when they had nailed him to the cross. On it was a sign that told why he was nailed there. It read, "This is the King of the Jews." The soldiers also nailed 2 criminals to a cross, one on the right and one on the left. So the scripture came true, which says, "He was accused of being a criminal." People who passed by him said terrible things about Jesus. They shook their heads and shouted, "Ha! So you're the one who claimed that he could tear down the temple and build it again in 3 days? Save yourself and come down from the cross." The chief priests and teachers of the law of Moses also made fun of Jesus. They said to each other, "He saved others, but he can't save himself. If he is the Messiah, the King of Israel, let him come down from the cross. Then we will see and believe." The 2 criminals also said cruel things to Jesus. About noon, the sky turned dark and stayed that way until around 3 o'clock. Then, about that time, Jesus shouted, "Eloi, Eloi, lacum salakam," which means, my God, why have you deserted me?" Some of the people standing there heard Jesus and said, "He is calling for Elijah." One of them ran and grabbed a sponge. After he had soaked it in wine, he put it on a stick and held it up to Jesus. He said, "Let's wait and see if Elijah comes and takes him down." Jesus shouted and then died. At once the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. A Roman army officer was standing in front of Jesus. When the officer saw how Jesus died, he said, "This man really was the Son of God." The Gospel of the Lord.